Take a journey with me. Most of the time sikuwa kwa mat umekaa kaa ni kama mimi either una scroll TikTok ama Instagram. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but iko tu sawa. An amazing experience I had on my way to Westlands. Tumekaa tu, which I don't know if this has ever happened to you or if it has not, lucky are you. So we sit in the matatu, we start our journey and going. So after some time, I see a signpost written Katani Preparatory and Kindergarten. I know, Westlands unashanga Katani Preparatory inafanya nini. But as usual, we trust the driver anatupeleka penye tunaenda. So mimi nimerelax. Then an old lady decides to ask, na kwani tunapelekwa wapi? Msee tu hapo fulani alikuwa anapiga story na mdemu wake, ana decide kusema nika tunapelekwa Tanzania. Watu wanacheka and then we move on. But most of the time, si ukuwa tu hivyo. We don't even care about it or anything. We are scrolling through our videos. Imagine mati kisimama unajipata uko Katani or umefika Tanzania. Semi Katani ni kubaya, for those who know where Katani is. But would you really want to be in Katani when the year ends or when the year starts? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to I Am Rebel. Let me show you how we do it. Today we have an amazing guest. I would like to introduce her, but naona naweza choma niache other things. Ndio unajua tu boy child tutaonea tusipo include vitu zingine. So acha mwenyewe ajiseme yani nani, what she does, and we'll pick it from here.
Thank you for having me. My name is Winnie Orodi. I'm a clinical psychologist by training, currently doing my graduate studies. Na tunafanya kazi pamoja in some other spaces, Newdon, where we do mentorship of children. That's where I spend most of my time. But I also practice psychology and counseling.
Okay.
Yes.
Then, mesikia psychology and counseling. So leo ni episode ya tuenda wazimu. Kaya ni mwenda wazimu, you are in the right place.
Well.
You are in the right place today. Okay, for today's conversation, I know we always talk about mental health, and some of us understand what mental health is, some of us don't know. So to you, explain it like I am a 2-year-old. How will you break down mental health for me?
Okay. So mental health, when you talk about mental health, you're referring to wellness, health, tunaanza na hiyo, the aspect of health, in your moods, behavior, and your thinking patterns. Because those are the areas that are usually affected by mental illness. Yes. So tunaangalia mood, I don't know kwa Kiswahili mood nini. Hisia.
Kiswahili tulianguka vibaya sana.
There's mood, behavior. Of course, there's a whole spectrum. There's nothing. When you look at normal and something that would be referred to as abnormal, there's a spectrum, and there's different criteria to diagnose, to meet before you're diagnosed that you have this particular thing. A lot of the mental illnesses that exist, something like anxiety, everyone experiences anxiety, but when now does it become clinically diagnosed that you have, for instance, GA, generalized anxiety, utapata it's persistent. I mean, even getting here, I was very nervous. I'm like, okay, what are we going to talk about? That's normal. But someone with generalized anxiety, it can be crippling. Ile mpaka they can't even come for something like this. They can't even leave the house, or they can't do the things that they're supposed to do. Then now it's crossing over to the other side where it's unhealthy. So you're looking at mood, behavior, and your thinking patterns. Thinking patterns could refer to, there are people who are just extremely paranoid. I mean, a lot of us we are very self-obsessed. kutoka nje na kaji, how are people looking at me?
Is that really a bad thing?
It's not a bad thing, it's a human thing, but kuna wale it's so much that all they can see, they're just picking cues from people that, oh, I'm not good enough. And sometimes it's not accurate. Sometimes people are actually looking at you because you look really, really nice, you know? But where were you perceiving it differently?
Okay.
Yeah,
so when you mentioned that, something came to my mind. Most of the time people say, niko na stress, or I have stress. Is that correct to say? What does stress really mean for someone to say, niko na stress, and that means, yes, this person is stressed?
Okay. So stress in itself is not necessarily a bad thing. Generally, Kenyans use it. I've had 2-year-olds say, you're gonna stress. Yeah? They're usually imitating their parents. You know, it's the lingo that is appropriated around. But utapata, actually, we need some level of stress to get work done. Unaona, when you're, let's say there's a deadline coming up, and you get adrenaline being released in your body, some cortisol, some stress hormones that allow you to move a little bit faster than you would. Maybe it's a task that you are supposed to do in 3 hours. Yeah?
Oh.
But because there's a deadline coming, you can even do it in 30 minutes. But after that, you relax. But when it's now prolonged stress, it's been days. Let's say you're working in a high stress environment. Every day you're coming in and you're under that amount of stress every day, then it's not healthy. Because now your system is not shutting down. Because when adrenaline and all these other stress hormones that allow you to move fast kick in, other things shut down, things like your immunity. That's why you find that people who work in high stress environments for long end up developing other lifestyle diseases. Yes?
And how do I get to know if this is normal stress or this is something that I should seek medical attention?
Now, I think it helps to define stress. A lot of times when I'm seeing clients and they're telling me they're stressed, I ask them, okay, what does that look like? Because sometimes it could be they actually need to go see a doctor. Maybe they're having tension that is physical, that needs to be treated. And because they're used to saying, oh, niko na stress, you're not really addressing the issue. So can you name the symptoms, first of all? What are you experiencing physically? You know, is it your back that is hurting? Is it headaches? Are you not able to sleep? How is your appetite? Like, name the actual thing that is happening. Then you can start to see, okay, this is normal that I can be able to deal with. But also the duration of it. No, I mean, if I'm stressed for a day or two because something significant is happening, maybe we're just from COVID, people had lost a lot of their dear ones. It's a stressful situation. That's normal. Or you have exams coming up, or you have too many tasks and very little time. But now, if this feeling of being overwhelmed or in distress is prolonged, it's been weeks and you're still feeling like you're not able to relax, then there's need for concern.
And can you be addicted to stress? Because why I'm asking that, I have friends who, they will know, I'm not mentioning names, Anna, she will know she's supposed to be at this place at 2 p.m., for example. But she will wait until 10 minutes to 2 p.m. to start preparing, take a shower, choose the clothes she's supposed to wear, do makeup. She knows she's using a matatu, mind you, and that place is like 20 minutes away. For her to get there a bit late. Like, is that something that you can call it can be an addiction? Because some people get the high from stressful situation.
Okay, so in your friends, you said Anna, not her real name. So Anna,
let's just call her Anna.
Okay, Anna is supposed to get somewhere by 2, and they start to prepare at
10 minutes to 2. Like, she had the whole day.
She had the whole day. Okay, so humans, we are creatures of habit. So it helps to see the pattern. You know, we cannot judge Anna. Maybe Anna had something else that she was doing that particular day. But you want to look backwards, look at, okay, in the last 6 months, how is my timekeeping? Because it's a skill. We are all not born keeping time. It's a skill that you have to cultivate, you know. And then there's planning. Yeah, are you a good planner? Are you allocating the right amount of time for different tasks? And preparation, like if you have, you have to get somewhere the next day, I don't think 10 minutes to is the right time to start choosing clothes. And for girls, it will feel like you don't have anything to wear. And maybe your closet is full, So it could be, I wouldn't call it necessarily an addiction. It could be maybe they need to just learn how to plan better. It could be a timekeeping thing, because it's a skill that has to be set, and it could also be a problem of procrastination. And sometimes you also look at what is the task they were going for. Maybe it's something that they feel it's too big, is overwhelming. Sometimes when you're overwhelmed, we shut down. We end up not doing anything. And then we wait to the last moment, and now we feel like we need to do all the things now, and then you end up really stressed.
Okay, now let me try bring it home. Most of us have been in relationships or are in relationships. Sorry if it just ended. You've pictured your life with this person. It's true. You've pictured your life with this person. We like to joke about. You even gave your kids names.
Wow.
You know the schools they are going to go. And then the sad thing about our generation today, someone comes and tells you, I don't feel your vibe anymore.
Ouch.
And that's it.
I don't feel your vibe.
Yes, that's it. Not that you cheated or you did anything wrong, like you're not vibing anymore. How do I get out of this stressful situation? Because I don't even need to explain the number of people who have committed suicide because of something like that.
Wow. It sounds like rejection. And rejection is a very painful experience for a lot of people. People go to great lengths to avoid rejection. They would simp. They would do all these things just to avoid rejection. So it's the question was, what do you do?
Yes,
Now
after everything is done, you had a future with this, you've named your kid, and you didn't even do something wrong. Like the excuse is you're not vibing anymore.
I think it helps. Okay, now that sounds, of course there's rejection, there's a sense of loss. So there will be a period of grief, like just grieving that whole loss that person is going through. Now, when you look at the stages of grief, the final one is acceptance. Yeah, there's denial, where you're still calling the person. But now these are stages in terms of, like, let's say you've lost someone to death. So I'm just using that same, because also it's a loss of some sort. But it helps to be grounded in yourself, like your sense of self-worth. It's not very tied to that external person. Maybe they were telling you all these nice things, and now that they are not there, so you do not have someone to validate you in who you are, because then that you can really sink into a lot of pain and heartache and all that. So taking a few steps back and starting to, statement kama hiyo, I don't feel your vibe. This is a whole person. You had children's names together. I don't think it's fair to just make that kind of statement. But moving backwards and looking at what kind of support system do you have, because when you're going through rejection or grief, you want people to hold you. Maybe you might not be able to be there for yourself. So it helps to have friends who can be there for you. They do not have to unpack that. There are those who live and tell you, hata hakuwa anajua kuvaa, and it will feel nice and validate you in some sense. You want to get out of the house, because again, the immediate need is to be by yourself, ujione huruma. It's okay to cry about it. It's a loss. Cry about it, but now the steps of picking yourself up is to now go outdoors instead of giving into the feeling of I just want to seclude myself and be by myself. You can do that maybe for a day or two. Afterwards, I mean, life has to go on. You want to keep your routine. Like if you had school, attend your classes. Don't miss classes because, gee, what happened? Yeah, even if you're not going to hear what the teacher is saying.
Kama wewe hujavunjwa roho.
I am here giving the ideal. How have you dealt with it in the past?
So let me give you an example.
Yes.
Same situation, but different perspective. Some people are afraid to tell you. I will respect that person who will tell you, I don't vibe with you anymore. Some people just decide to ghost you. Like you are tight, then all of a sudden you realize, what happened? Like you don't even realize when this thing happened. All of a sudden, we're not talking, we're not having the dates we used to have. And sometimes you might think, the worst thing is you don't know or you don't see it happening. It's just one day you wake up and you realize, okay, we're no longer vibing with Winnie. What happened? You see, I would prefer the person coming and telling you, I'm not vibing with you anymore. Because sometimes closure is good. It's hurtful, but it's good. Rather than you being left not knowing, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong in this? For me, I think that's most of my experience. People see fire and they run away. By people, I mean me. When I started seeing signs and symptoms, you won't even know that we ended things.
Wait, so you're saying you're the ghosting type?
Yes, I'm the ghosting type. But yes, that was back then. Not to say that I'm old.
Okay.
I'm just a very young person. But I realized it's better to speak it out. People can't beat you up. The worst they'll do is cry, but they'll drink water and they'll restore the tears. Yes, but for me, I think it's better someone who is bold enough to say it. It will hurt, yes, but you move on. Like you've said, go to classes. Even if you'll only be seeing blurry images, you won't be hearing anything. Just pick yourself up.
Yes. Yes, I think I agree with you. And I mean, it speaks to personalities also, how people choose to approach conflict. There are people who will avoid conflict at whatever cost. So they would rather ghost than address the issue, come and tell you, know what, I don't feel your vibe. They feel like that's a bit too confrontational. But I like that you've evolved into the person who can now come and say, this is what is going on. I mean, honesty and clearly communicating what's going on really helps. But as a young person, when you're getting into relationships, it helps to have negotiables and non-negotiables. Yes, the deal breakers, the things that you can compromise and the things that you can't. And be very clear. Values, not necessarily tall, dark and handsome. You want to...
Not all dark and handsome is important. You can't go with someone anakaa venye anataka, hata unajua.
Yes, but also moving beyond that, looking at, are you okay with open and honest conversations? You know, is that something that you can compromise on or not? Is that a value of yours? You know, things like fidelity. Or are you the kind of person, hey, when this happens, I'm out? You know, like being very clear on those things, so that when you start to see that someone is already violated, you don't have to wait to be ghosted. You can start to see the things that are not consistent with what you want. But
now my question will be,
yes,
if we have this conversation, wouldn't that mean that I'm seeking doom for this relationship?
Could you say that again?
Wouldn't it be that I'm seeking doom? Like I see the relationship failing. Because why are we talking about the negatives? Like what I can't stand or what I can't bear. Doesn't it mean it's more of I'm preparing you for the worst?
Not necessarily. I mean, that's one way to look at it. But there are people who do not mind. There are people who are polygamous. Yeah, and there are people who that is, I cannot.
A deal breaker.
So when you're very clear on that, when that is violated, you already have action steps. So you're not reacting. You've already set where your limits are, your boundaries. And some of these you learn as you continue to relate with someone. Yeah. As opposed to if you're not very clear on what is okay and what's not okay, and you don't have to say it out loud, you know it for yourself, you know, okay, me, I appreciate 1, 2, 3 things, but as you go, it's not an interview where you're like, okay, now do you tick all these things? Some things you just have to observe. There are people who cannot stand disorder, and there are people who can. Yeah. So is that something you can compromise on? Is that something that is a no, I cannot stand it? Because there are people who are really, really bothered by disorder, and there are people who thrive in disorder. Now, can you imagine those people in the same house? What will happen?
You know, there is always a joke. There is a person who goes to bed and sleeps immediately after 1 minute. There is a person who goes to bed, tosses and turns for 3 hours before they fall asleep, and these 2 people get married to each other.
Yeah, they complement each other.
So how do we strike that balance?
Yes.
Is it more about, is it my space is more important, or is it that I can accommodate other people still? Because, for example, from the example you're giving, I might be thriving in disorder, and you find this person loves order. So does that mean it can't work, or will that mean we can complement each other?
Now, that's a very individual decision to make. So, for instance, if you've decided that this is the person, this is it, and maybe they're not the most orderly person, then you start to accept them for who they are, rather than taking them and hoping that you will teach them how to be organized. Because now this is who they are, this is how they run their life. Unless that individual decides, okay, I am extremely disorganized and I would learn a few skills from you. Instead of you taking the initiative to want to change and mold this other person into what you want them to be. Because then that becomes now a source of conflict. But if you're orderly and you accept them as they are, then that's okay. And there are people who are orderly and they cannot just stand it. And they decide, okay, I don't think I'll be able to accept this particular person as they are, and maybe this is not for me. So even as you're moving out, I mean, it's a loss, but you also realize in the long run it will save you a lot of heartache. Instead of hoping that I will change them. Eventually,
People are not Jesus.
Accept them as they are, yes. Unless Jesus Christ works through them himself, the Holy Spirit, let people be who they are.
Okay. Another thing I would like us to discuss is, many a times most of us don't want to go, we like to call you people shrinks. Like most of us don't want to go see a psychiatrist, because automatically it means you're a mad person. For most cases. That's why we'll even be afraid to do that. So my first question on that is it wrong for you to think that it's a bad thing to go see a psychiatrist or a psychologist based on different things? And again, at what age? For example, we are in a space where a small conflict, we go to counseling, we go to therapy. Any conflict, or, oh, you're behaving this way, you need you need to see a counselor. So how do we differentiate, this I need to solve it by myself, or this I need to come see a professional on it?
Okay, so again, persistence. You started by asking, is it wrong to feel like it's wrong to go see a psychiatrist? I think we exist in a time right now where mental illness is really being talked about, because in the past there's been a lot of stigma because people did not understand. There's intersections between spirituality and enda muombewe, your demon ikwe cast away and all that. I mean, there's need for us to have a very eclectic approach to challenges in life. There's the room for spiritual nourishment and also for physical health treatment, and that includes both seeing the general GP the general physicians, and also seeing the mental health practitioners like psychiatrists and psychologists. I mean, there's illnesses that can only be treated in that context. Yeah, so we are, I mean, someone shouldn't feel bad or feel like it's wrong to want to go there. But we also understand we exist in a culture that, I mean, it's even globally, not just in Kenya. And for people to assume that when mwenda wazimu, it's actually quite a derogatory term to use. You find that like institutions like the Mathare Teaching and Referral Hospital, even just making a referral for someone to, they have a really equipped facility there. It's properly funded. They have all the psychiatrists and psychiatric nurses and psychologists. But you tell someone to go there and they don't want to go. Even for their treatment, for instance, for substance use disorders is really subsidized. Try going to a regular rehabilitation center. It's quite costly. But someone would rather pay triple the price than go to Mathare because of the stigma. So I'm hoping also this episode would be to create awareness that it's just like going to the doctor. Yeah, it's just treatment that you're seeking. And I forgot the other question.
Do you have a specific age, for example? Is it right to take, for example, a 5-year-old to therapy?
Okay, so again, when you look at therapy, there's different services being offered. Sometimes it's assessments being done. Some learning disorders can be detected really early. Maybe there's delayed speech, there's all these things. So you need a diagnosis to be made in good time so that they don't go to school and they're labeled, wewe ujuangi kusoma, wewe ni danda, wewe ni... Yet it's a learning disorder that can be intervened early or aparte treatment. So if there's something off and it's persistent and you've gone, let's say, to the general physician, of course you want to start there before you go to the psychiatrist so that they rule out any physical illness. And then now if the thing is still persistent, for instance, if the child cannot sleep, and they've done all the general body checkup, everything is fine. So they'll say, okay, maybe go see a psychologist. Maybe this child is dealing with something else in school and they're not talking about it. Yes, so there's no wrong age to go seek these services, yes.
Even as old as...
Yes, yes. Okay. And as you age, there's things like Alzheimer's and all that, people forgetting and yeah.
Okay. Forgetting, like you forgot to return a missed call, that's not, you don't need attention.
Now that is a stress thing now. When you know, when you're under high stress, you tend to forget the regular things that you're supposed to do. Or maybe you're being ghosted. You never know.
No. Yeah. Okay, interesting. The last thing I would like us to talk about is, so I know that we are not yet in a space where we can openly talk about mental health. We can openly talk about, I'm going through this, I need help and all that. So how can we change that culture and make people be acceptable to this? Because among my friends, rarely would someone say, oh, I need to go for a mental checkup. Like, it would be weird. Because, we'll start looking at you differently. How do we change this conversation? Or how do we make us be more comfortable about this?
I mean, it's unfortunate that that changes. And I've had a few people that because they use their work insurance to seek certain services, then information of their diagnosis got to the employer. Imagine they were released from their jobs because of that. And I mean, that's the stigmatization that we are trying to eradicate. And I'm hoping conversations like this can create some awareness that it's just an illness. It doesn't mean that you cannot function. Yeah. So you can be on your medication or you're seeing a psychologist and you're able to function. You're able to maintain a relationship, keep a job. I mean, meet your objectives. Unless someone is a chronic substance user where they're now not reporting to work and things like that, or even with school, then they might need to take some time off to get well fast and then recover. But the brain is a beautiful organ. Its resilience and ability to adapt and learn is profound. I don't think we've been able to fully harness how powerful our minds are. So with treatment, we are able to cope with life and do everything. So creating that awareness that you're not, you know, you're mwendawazimu, the psychotic, that's the extreme level. There's mood disorders where maybe your hormone levels are not very stabilized. Your neurotransmitters, things like serotonin, which is your feel-good hormone. You find that people with depression and all that, there's an imbalance of sorts that inhibits you from naturally producing the hormones you need to be able to function. Like you have good motivation, you're feeling uplifted and all that. So, did I just go on a tangent and I forgot what I was talking about?
How we make it more safe for people to talk about it.
Like let people understand that it's an illness that can be managed, and some of them completely treated, and not every case is complete psychosis. You're on the streets and dressing and doing the most. You know, some of them are very mild, and there are actually very few people that get diagnosed with like proper schizophrenia, where you out of touch with reality. You know, you're speaking to people in other dimensions.
That's
very few cases of those. So these other ones are things that can be managed. A lot of it is developmental issues, you know, the things you picked up. Maybe you grew up in a problematic, a dysfunctional family, and that has taken a toll. So you need to address certain issues, maybe adapt better learning, or write over some belief systems that you had so that you're able to function and thrive and reach your full potential. Yeah.
So one misconception I've always had, when you go to therapy, it's always about, oh, my parent did this, that's why I'm like this. Is this true or it's just false hearsays?
I don't think it's either or. Yeah, I don't think your parents are responsible for everything. And also just to extend some grace to our parents. I mean, they also didn't have a template. I mean, their parents were very conscious, and they go out there and they want to be the best accommodative parent. I mean, to parent their children, to be able to, for them to become independent and autonomous and go take on the world. And then their parents who've had not the best, and things like poverty and just limited knowledge, and sometimes even culture, because there's cultures that practice things like FGM, some cultures that are a bit toxic even to the boy child or the girl child. So just looking at all those things and realizing that your parents exist in a system, in a culture that sometimes could inform their parenting style, and maybe that's not what you needed. But now that you've become a conscious adult, it's your responsibility to now realize that you can parent yourself in a way that you can learn different habits, you can adapt, you can pick up better belief systems that allow you to thrive. Yes.
So it's more about, it's about me, it's never even about what my parents did or how they behaved.
I mean, parents can affect you. They can really hurt you. But what I'm getting at is we cannot stay there that, oh, because now my parents raised me like this, now there's nothing else I can do.
You are comfortable there.
Yes. Now that is, you're picking up a negative belief system, a victimhood kind of. Now I am helpless because my parents raised me this way. Not really. Even in your 30s, in your 40s, you can learn differently. You can go through a healing process and forgive your parents, and even now care for them better and allow them get to a point where you have a healthier relationship with them.
Okay. Last misconception. I hear that, for example, Madare, not been there, but from the stories I've heard, that they are forced to cram scriptures every day. Do you think religion has a part to play in someone's mental stability?
Okay. I've been speaking to belief systems, and remember I was talking about mental illness. When you look at things like your thinking pattern, it's really, when you look at religion, it informs our beliefs, isn't it? Yes, so in that sense, yes. A lot of people, religion is their anchor. Their spirituality is their anchor. Yeah, so, and it's to look at things like, because there's a level of resilience. There's studies that show that people that go through adversity and have some sort of religious affiliation or strong spiritual values tend to bounce back faster. They're a bit more resilient, you know. Even Christians say it's God's will, because God has willed it. So there's a sense of it's not all up to me to make things right. I can do my part, but there's a greater force that will carry me through. So that's people with that strong sense of belief system in their spirituality tend to be a bit more resilient. So they're able to persevere prolonged stress, or just adversity in general, which could have otherwise maybe left someone feeling a little too distressed or feeling depressed and things like that. So there's the role that spirituality plays. But now for Christians, I would encourage you to not over-spiritualize things, yeah? I mean, there's the role of for instance, if you're having a hormonal imbalance, your body is not releasing enough serotonin as it's supposed to, and your psychiatrist is telling you, take this medication, it will help, and you're saying, no, I will go pray and I'll be fine. I mean, yes, you can. There's the spiritual element, there's the physical element, you've heard of people who refuse to be immunized.
Yes.
Because of
their beliefs, their religion and whatnot.
Yes. So there's room for both. You can still be on medication and practice your faith. So as you're on medication, you're also adapting better belief systems that allow you to be a bit more resilient, or to, I mean, reading scriptures is very affirming, you know, your identity in Christ, you know, what is it saying to you? It's very validating, yeah, especially with young people and body image and things like that. Yes,
okay.
So there's a role that religion and spirituality plays in mental health. Yes.
Okay. So as we wrap up, like us to give us one parting shot about what is the one most important thing that you'd like people to know about mental health. Just one.
One.
Yes.
I think mental well-being is a conscious process. Yes, it's a very deliberate process. You could be very, very healthy, raised in a perfect home with perfect parents, and you end up getting mentally ill because of the life choices that you're making, you know. And it goes to the basics: getting enough sleep, what foods are you eating, are you hydrated enough, what are your habits like, you know, so that you're nourishing your body, mind, and soul. When there's that sense of balance, then mental well-being is achieved. So it's a conscious process. You cannot be passively mentally healthy. Yes.
Okay, interesting. So as we wrap this up, I'd like to leave you with Psalms 46, 1 to 3. I will paraphrase it so that you can go and read and confirm. God is with us, even in those struggles. When our mind starts racing, our stress levels rise, or we become anxious, let us remember that God told us we do not have to be afraid, for He is always with us. Thank you, Winnie, for joining us. We'll definitely have you next time. I hope imekubamba and would really like to be here again.
Absolutely. I had such a wonderful time with you. I'm just out of breath and a little thirsty.
Next time, kutakuwa na juice. Mtu wetu watatu wetu mwenye hata kulete maji. This is how it's supposed to be done. Chana na safari na kelele yake. If this was fun, and if you'd like to see more of this, please talk to us on the comments and tell us. I hope it's a conversation that made sense to you. See you next time. Please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Bye.
Bye.